So, this is... I normally do welcome to... I'm going to end with the welcome. I think I just want to have a little chat before we really get into this, because this is not quite what I had in mind. I kind of want to just talk a little bit, because this has definitely been an unusual few weeks, months. It's been a bit strange, a little crazy right now, and I know everybody's kind of got a different mindset. I debate what to say about what's going on, because everybody's got their opinions, everybody's got their hysteria, and this is not that kind of... I don't want that to be this. There's lots of places I've put my foot in my own mouth a few times. I'm sure other people have as well. So I'm not going to really dwell on what's going on, because this is more about where we go from here. And I was coming to Vancouver to try to get into the film industry, work with IATSE, do some film stuff, and do things here that you cannot do anywhere else. And it's been great. I've met some really cool magazine publishers out here. I've got a chance to hang out with some of my friends out here on a regular basis, like people like Brad Anderson, Colleen. Colleen, she's great. And thanks for everything she's done for me. Colleen Anderson, Brad Anderson. Yeah, wow, two Andersons, different. And Jan Landels, I've gotten to see, and I've gotten to do some things, and I'm really getting excited, because I'm at the point where I'm completely going to take the leap into freelancing, everything. But I wanted to do everything that was unique to here, because again, I came out here to do something different. I didn't come out here to do the same thing. Movies aren't going to be made for at least a little while. I figure, May or June, we'll probably be through whatever this is, and that's fine. This will pass. That I am very confident of. It's where we go from here. So I'm like, well, what can I do? And it occurred to me, well, I do this audio thing all the time. I do podcasts all the time, and why not go to the next step? I still do intend to work with Audio Sorceress for releasing the audiobook. But since right now there's a demand for stuff, why not just do the audiobook now? Or at least get it started. And that's what I'm going to be doing. This is an experiment, a wild experiment. It's also a bit suicidal. I kind of wish I had some Jim Beam or Jack Daniels with me right now, because I just basically committed to myself that I'm going to be doing 3 episodes of this podcast a week now, and that's insane. That's fucking crazy, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm getting this really cool. I'm excited. This is a challenge. At some point, we don't always get control what goes on in our time. There's always big things bigger than us that happen around us that we have no control over, and we can be rail and we can be mad at it, that it's not going to be perfect timing, but it's now or it's never, right? And that's it. I mean, there's never a safe time to do things. We're never in the right moment, the perfect moment. We are just in the moments that we have. And what we have to do is we have to do whatever we can to make whatever dreams we have come true. And I think now more than ever, it's important that people keep stepping out and keep doing things. And this is specifically to my author friends, other podcasts, singers, musicians. I think you've got a really cool opportunity right now. Illustrators. You know what? People, this is an amazing opportunity to connect with each other, because I got news for you. Television's going to be boring in a couple weeks. Television fucking sucks. Outside, I don't know how long this large gathering thing's going to be in effect, but it's going to be in effect for a bit. So no concerts, no sports. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know there's going to be a lot of, if you're married, you got a spouse, you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, you're definitely going to be messing around a lot. So, the only thing I'll bring a raincoat to the shower. But if you're not doing any of those things, you know what, and you're just waiting, You're going to be, go get it done. There's this great opportunity to meet and be with amazing people, at least on a digital level. Really connect. Because why not? We got all the time in the world. Go check out some great things. Do funny things. Rebel. Get your story out there. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking lead. I'm doing it first. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I have, much like everything else in my life, not knowing what I'm doing, just going for it and doing it just seems to be how I do things. So that's what I'm doing. So the Cloud Diver is pretty much ready to go. I'm working on the legal page this weekend as well. So this is a very cloud diving centric weekend. And so that includes this book. So I'm not quite sure how long this episode is going to be. It might be 5 minutes. It might be... it's going to be long, 5 minutes. I'm thinking 20, 30 minutes on average. So this is going to be a 20-minute read. And then from there, I'm going to listen. This is going to be probably more polished than just joshing. The other regular episodes of just joshing are going to still be interviews. There's going to be 2 interviews a week. And there's going to be one of these a week. 20 minutes every day. Listen, I guarantee you'll laugh. This is about an evil virus from evil mega corporations instead of whatever the hell this is. And I guarantee you'll laugh and you're going to have a good time. And that's all I'm going to do. Right now, the demand for content is going to go right to the roof. There's no new movies. There's no sports. There's no distractions. Right now is the time to showcase who you are. Because now, more than ever, people will be listening. So, let's begin, shall we? Welcome, everyone, to episode 341 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pinto-Loresco. I write stuff in podcast 2, and tonight is part 1, chapter 1 of The Cloud Diver. Let's get to it, shall we? The Cloud Diver, written by Joshua Pinto-Loresco, illustrated by...
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
The Cloud Diver, written by Joshua Pinto-Loresco. Illustrated by Lance Mon, edited by Ellen Michelle, published by Just Joshing Media, illustrations and design, copyright Lance Mon, used with permission, copyright 2020. Dedication to Rachel. Thank you for leading me on the path of the unicorn. I am very proud to be your brother. And I am very, very proud of you. I love you. This one's for you. Lance Mon's dedication to Allie. I'll come back to bed now. I promise. Level 1-1. Chapter 1. To feed Void Life. Q&A with Void Life founder @GBender CEO will be live in 2 days. Next patch of New White Sand City available here. The one-eyed giant in night black armor chased us down the hall, missing my head by mere inches with the swing of its weapon of mass destruction. I looked down at Stevie Y, who scurried so fast that all I could see was a red and white hockey jersey float across the floor. "Can you get us out of here?" I asked in desperation. "Maybe," Stevie Williams answered. "Maybe." "Would you two shut up?" the redhead said, running around us, trying to slow the giant down with bullets from her gunblade. We were all running back to the entrance we created, hoping it was still there as we turned the corner. Naturally, it wasn't. A wall of smoke, fog, and electricity awaited us. Our entrance had been sealed behind us. We had to face the giant. We were dead! Chapter 2. Feed Void Life. At Whammer 2FK, no, we do not insure employees beyond living quarters. Hashtag Q&A. At Veredis1234, we are aware of the dragon flu epidemic. So far, it falls within standard flu paradigms. It always begins in vertigo. When I close my eyes and go to sleep in the physical world, there's this sudden drop. Everything sinks into bright white and I'm falling. I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and the old impulse for reaching for the jack in the back of my head for a moment rears its head. The storage device from my younger days came to my mind for a second. There was always a chance that Void Life sensors would detect the modification to myself. That fear vanished in the unreality place, replaced by a feeling it's not falling. I did that once upon a time. Horrible experience. Not something I'd want to do again. This was more like floating. I imagine this is what diving was like when we could swim in the ocean. The light recedes. I hit no bottom. Suddenly, things go stale and I'm standing on a black and white chessboard floor. The white fades and I see myself in the mirror. Small lines, squares, and triangles appear from nothing and start connecting together until they become a facility of an old lifting device called an elevator. Buttons in the elevator numbered from 1 to 49. Right now, the elevator is counting down from the 12th floor down. I breathe. Whatever it is, I breathe. I've arrived. Time to get to work. Ding! I took out my tablet, the only thing that linked me to the outside world, and read what I'm supposed to do today. A list of tasks was written on the tablet, complete with estimated times of completion and some details of what I can and can't do with the task at hand. The highlight of the day is going to be trying to break into room 3 on floor 39 with the key card from room 2 from the same floor. Before I begin, I checked my favorite part of the tablet. Located at the top right corner above this time was my baby. My green light, which glowed a magical emerald, indicating that all was clear and safe. Safe being the key word. I felt comforted by the assurance of the light. After a quick check of the wireless web being active, I breathed easier. I knew the simulation could be realistic, but every time I interacted with it, I was impressed with the level of detail the programmers managed. I could smell the pine in the air and feel the breeze tickle my skin. I shivered, gulping for something that seemed like air. This was the world of the Dark Tower. The new world built in the virtual space. You could play virtual games and live in the system and not even make the servers slow down an iota. Quantum drivers made sure users would feel the most intense, three-dimensional experience ever conceived of being inside a virtual world. I was a diver doing the beta testing, recording my daily activities, and leaving my own quantum footprint inside the system. Chapter 3. Void Life Feed. The tower will be launching in Q4 of the next year. For details, click here. My job, if you want to break it all down, is to test how real the simulation is. Real in the sense of sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. Can I be fooled into believing that this virtual world mimicked the real world? That's the question. So day in and day out, I step into the tower and go floor after floor to experience what's in the place. I viewed my task list with a touch of crushed optimism. My instructions involved walking, and more walking. It'd be nice to do something else, anything else for once. But if that's what Void Life wanted, I'd do it. My footsteps rippled the place. Giant statues of gargoyles stared at me in judgment as I walked through the structure. Silence and nothingness echoed between each percussive step. The quiet begged for voices to fill the void, and yet none were there. A brief chill went through me. Maybe it was the gargoyles above me, but for just a second I seemed tiny in a hollow world. And then, it was just me in the tower, and the task I had to do. Every time I started, the same questions entered my mind. You didn't need true virtual reality to design entertainment for the masses. There's plenty of ways for people to amuse themselves. I didn't voice these questions out loud, though. I was nothing more than an insignificant pawn who cashed the checks and played with their interface. Indigo electricity crackled up the wall of the tower. The mind machine was always pulsing skyward. The taste of alcohol, marijuana, and cherries tantalized my tongue as I could hear the echoes of other engineers piloting the system in other ways. Some were having a great time in the recreational facilities. I walked for a long time, jolted by the silent reminders of how much of a monstrosity this place was. After an eternity, I came to the end of the long twilight hall to a quaint little door, and I pushed the button to go up. For all the modern decor in the tower, someone had the sense of humor to use an older elevator. Terrible music interrupted the silence as the door opened. Mild dread of the song came to me as I stepped inside. The worst thing about elevator music was that it stuck with you long after the ride was over, and sometimes, when you thought you were over the experience, you found yourself humming the music throughout the day. The programmer had done a brilliant job traumatizing me with their selections. The elevator's panel was unusual. Usually, there are two 8th floors, 8A and 8B, and there was no 13th floor at all. Until today. There was still an 8A and an 8B, but now there was also a 13th floor between 12 and 14. I called up the schematics of the tower on my magical tablet to see if any upgrades had been made. Nothing. I should have reported the anomaly right then and there. Instead, I had a strange moment of curiosity. What if? Reverberated in my head. What if I pushed the button? What would wait for me on the other side? My natural caution interrupted my impulse to let my itchy trigger finger push the button. All I had to do was go to the assigned floor and keep moving along with the task list. My finger itched in anticipation, and so did my curiosity. It'd be only for a second, I justified to myself, so I satisfied the itch and pushed the button to the 13th floor. The elevator doors opened and darkness awaited me. There was no empty office floor, or doors, or even the building. There's just emptiness. This was a world not yet made, not even a thought of it or conceived. The abyss. It shared the same alien quality the building had. Unlike the tower, there were sounds that appeared more like the outdoors in the distance. I heard chirping, and yet no bird flew in the sky. The tower's outer ebony shell pulsed around this empty space, and indigo sparks were running up the walls like synapses firing between cells. I almost pressed the button to shut the door. My curiosity was sated. I could go back to work. The sound of footsteps in the distance turned my attention into the abyss. I could make out a silhouette with red hair, seemingly walking on nothing. Who was she and where was she going? With great attentiveness, I took a step out of the elevator and, to my surprise, there was solid ground underneath. Without any real conscious thought, I started walking towards the silhouette. I caught up to the mysterious shadow before I knew it and saw a red-haired woman with a gunblade on her back walking a little distance away. Her silhouette and shadow clashed with the indigo flashes in the sky. From the distance, it looked like she was the one real thing here. She glided on the air, walking towards the source of life in this near formless abyss. I kept my distance. I didn't know who she was. I wasn't so she'd be keen on being followed. And that gunblade on her back looked dangerous. One of my most sacred promises to myself once I got my job at Void Life is that I'd avoid danger. Caution would be the guiding compass of my life. Yet here I was, walking on the air, wondering if I'd fall down somewhere. It was like one of those ancient cartoons available on the screens. A character in the show walks across a cup and all just seems fine, as long as I didn't look down. The redhead never even noticed I was there pondering her in this room. She was simply walking towards her destination without a single glance at her lack of surroundings. The ease and grace she carried herself with told me she had done this before. The indigo flashes increased in speed and intensity as she moved forward, converging to a solid iron door. The door was connected to a tower of fog. Mist and pulses were the foundation of the structure in front of her. It formed into the twisted version of the void life being, all jagged, uneven, and imperfect. Unlike the dark tower behind me, this tower was upside down. The spiral moved downward to whatever was below, mocking the structure it tried to mimic. She approached the library and pressed her hand into the wall. I watched all these pulses light up and converge onto her hand. She winched the unsheathed blade and pierced through the door, causing blue lines to appear, along with a lock that seemed to enlarge itself against its will. Before I could gasp a single word of surprise, she walked inside the passage she created and had vanished as if it had never been. What had just happened? And what should I do about it? Should I step off? This whole thing was far outside my pay grade. A woman with a gunblade walks into thin air into an unknown twisted version of the structure I work in. Yeah, that wasn't weird at all. I was about halfway between the elevator and whatever this place was. I could go back and tell my superiors about this. Point of fact, that is the logical, correct, and absolute right thing to do. I should turn around and go back. Trained professionals should be dealing with this. But I had already come this far. I had more questions than answers, and the only way to know was to keep going. I looked at my tablet. There was an abort button that would wake me up. I caressed it, considering pressing it anyway. How bad did I want to know? I wanted to know. Besides, if things should get adventurous, I just had to press the button. How hard could that be? I heard the elevator close. My heart skipped a beat. Okay, Johnny, breathe, I told myself. You steady the hands. You can escape anytime. Anytime. Stop shaking. Breathe. Calm down. Blue lightning pulses danced as I approached the door. She had used her gunblade to get inside this thing. I had no weapon. I was an engineer, not some video game crusader armed to the gills with weapons and random number generators that could bypass the system. This was more complicated than that. I blinked one eye to access a special interface on my tablet that I had designed and summoned my personal demon. Back in my more reckless days, I designed my own personal hacking and cracking tools. Sometimes virtual systems called for opening doors. The rules disallowed you to. Structures and rules needed to be bent. Sometimes, as a diver, I had to be the one to bend them, just to see if they could. Stevie Wynn was my personal rule bender. Back then, I thought it'd be cute to give my demon a little personality. Now, you just had a big mouth and would never shut up. Ever shut up. But if she had made the lock appear from thin air, he could find it. In seconds, I found him. Truth is, it didn't look hard. He was always there when I closed my eyes. Stevie Y was in my head. I put him there myself. If my mind was a house, he'd have his own little bachelor pad, complete with hammock and sometimes a pina colada. As usual, when I didn't need him, he was sleeping. I blared my summons at him with all the mental fortitude I could muster. Stevie Y, I need you. Stevie Y yawned. I growled. No, I blared. I heard a sigh, and then he appeared. Looked like he'd gone one too many rounds with an ugly stick. His nose was crooked and big. It appeared he had been broken many times. The eyes looked far away and never centered on the face. The left eye was about 2 sizes larger than the right, accentuating that maybe he had taken one too many to the head. The fuzz on his chin could never hope to be a beard, yet he insisted when he had one too many digital cocktails it was the manliest beard ever. He wore an old hockey jersey with a wing in the middle of his chest and the number 19 on the back, on homage to his namesake. Stevie Rye reported in. He looked around. Where are we exactly? Wish I knew. I brought Stevie Y up to speed about what I just witnessed. Stevie Y absorbed my solution to the problem with scorn. You are following a chick with a blade. Well, yeah, I acknowledged. You know how crazy that sounds? We're walking on a floorless space outside a tower going towards a giant, upside-down, misty version of it with bluish lightning shooting out from inside it, I retorted. Is that any less crazy? Fair, Stevie Y conceded. Besides, it beats the usual, I said sheepishly. So you're going to try to follow a girl into whatever this is, Stevie Y asked? Pretty much, I answered. You like her, he teased. No, I don't. I don't even know who or what she is. You like her, Stevie Y grinned. All right, Romeo. I'll help you get inside this thing. Just don't be surprised if she killed you. I scoffed.
Chapter 4. Feed Void Life. At K-Blade Code, this crisis is not as serious as you say it is. Our experts assure us this is just a flu.
The lightning crackled around the outer shell of the misty tower, daring me to try to get inside. I ignored the voice in the back of my head, screaming to get out of there, and instead gazed at the cloudy structure in front of me, wondering just how the red-haired woman got inside the library. What was this thing, anyway? Could it be an older system? In the net, nothing ever disappears. Our difference engines change, but the information stays the same. Once upon a time, there were programs called apps that moved information into the net. Was this one of those legendary systems? Stevie Y morphed out his satellite ears and infrared eyes, trying to find some weakness in the structure. So, she just walked right in here, he asked? Right here. You remember how she did it exactly? I remembered watching the redhead girl wince in pain and she touched the door. Oh no. Did that mean I had to touch it too? I looked at all the electric currents in all their torrenting glory, taunting me. I stuck my finger to the edge and felt a shock. I swore. Several times. That stung. Man. I looked at my tablet and questioned once again if this was such a good idea. It still gave me the green OK signal. Now what to do? I could do what she did. She had placed her whole hand on the library. which converts all the impulses to one particular point. Did that distract the defenses in some way? I had no clue, but with Stevie Y here, maybe I'd find the door again. But I didn't like the idea of pain very much, or consequences. How bad did I want to open the door? How much did pain hurt anyway? I placed my whole hand on the library and felt my fingers go numb. That river of electricity converged on my hand and did its best to claw inside my fingernails and pull out chunks of sand. I felt like I was going to burst, but then the pain receded in sheer numbness. It started with my fingers and spread into my hand. Soon, my left arm joined my fingers in the uncomfortable void of unfeeling. The interface and real-time impact projected a more visceral experience than the tower. The tablet that I held in my right hand was still content in its green status. I decided this tablet had no idea what it was talking about. How am I going to get inside? I asked myself. You don't have a blade like she did, or, that's right. The Void Life Tower really wasn't a tower at all. It was a construct. I couldn't think of the Gunblade as simply a gunblade. I could think of it instead as a lockpick or a key. Stevie Y sighed. He had come to the same conclusion I had. You need a key, don't you? I nod. You sure? I'm sure! My shoulder was joining the void of unfeeling. I didn't want to think about what would happen as numbness continued to spread. I didn't want to lose my nerve, so I pressed on. Stevie Y started the ship. The gnome vanished and a golden key took his place. It flowed towards me and I caught it with both hands, tossing the tablet aside in the process. I thrust the key towards the door. Stevie Y changed colors from gold to red and white. Unlike the gunblade the girl used, no lock appeared from the abyss. Instead, the door and the converging pulses echoed the colors Stevie Y shifted into until the colors matched each other in perfect harmony. The iron door began to morph. The iron surface transformed into a large white frame with stained glass windows at the top. A brass handle formed in front of me and the pain from the pulses lessened until they were gone altogether. Finally free of the pain, I grabbed a brass knob, opened the door, and was sucked inside. I think we'll stop there. Kind of a nice little beginning. Next week I'll continue the story from here. This is a work in progress. I'm not sure if this is good or bad or different. This is just an idea. I promise it'll get more entertaining as time goes on. But I hope you enjoyed this little peek inside the Cloud Diver, which is coming soon as a digital book. Physical book, we'll see when the release comes. This year's kind of a bit in flux in terms of the chaos, but the book will be out. And so will some other things. And that will do it for this first episode of The Cloud Diver and this episode of Just Joshing. Thank you for listening. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and everywhere there is a player. You can find this podcast, Just Joshing, click subscribe, and share and tell your friends about this, especially these episodes. They're different. I'm really proud of them. I'm going for it. And anyone that shares this is greatly appreciated. Anyway, to continue, The Cloud Diver is coming soon on Amazon. Stay tuned to these episodes for more details. Number 1. Number 2, you can listen to all my past episodes and future episodes as well. I'm on YouTube. Joshua Pantelleresco is my YouTube. If you want to listen to past episodes of the podcast, you can do so that way. I have merchandise, jpantelleresco.redbubble.com. The link will be in the description. Definitely a fun-filled time. My sponsor, Indie Imprint. Definitely check them out as well. My Facebook page is Joshua Pantelleresco, author podcaster. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. My Twitter and Instagram is at jpantelleresco. But above all else, though, thank you for listening. I hope I made your day today. Join me next week. 344 will be Cloud Diver Part 2. Join me next week when that comes out. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves.
Josh. Shush.